The episode opens far from the war rooms in open country where a sheep grazes peacefully until a dragon swoops down and tears it apart. Reyna approaches the wild dragon sheep-stealer, trying to calm it. The dragon allows her to climb on and takes off, but she loses her grit mid-flight and falls. It looks fatal. It isn't, not this time. Back in King's Landing, Aemond is woken by one of his men, who wants Aegon's escaped guard executed as a traitor for letting the king slip away the night before. Aemond confirms the punishment will be death, then learns something worse. Aegon fled the city with Larys Strong, a man known for some deeply unsettling personal habits. Out on the road, Aegon is badly wounded, his injuries spreading and worsening. He begs for milk of the poppy to dull the pain. Larys tells him there's no shortcut. He needs rest and caution. Aegon, bitter, says he's king of nothing now, his throne nothing more than a pile of ash and ruin. Rhaenyra's soldiers stop them on the road and demand that anyone passing kneel, swear loyalty to Rhaenyra, and curse Aegon's name. Disguised as beggars, Larys complies without hesitation. Aegon refuses, and the soldiers beat him for it, assuming this is simple defiance from a common traveler, loyal to the true king. Aegon actually laughs at being mistaken for someone else, until Larys is forced to reveal the truth. This disfigured burned man in front of them really is King Aegon II, scarred from his battle against Rhaenyra's forces. Larys manages to talk the soldiers out of executing him on the spot, convincing them their other traveling companions are worthless anyway. So, if the soldiers want bodies, take theirs instead. They do, and Aegon is taken to Dragonstone as a prisoner. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra is torn over whether she can actually trust Alicent. Her son Jacaerys urges caution. There's no real alternative plan, but trusting someone from the Green faction is dangerous, especially with Aemond and Vhagar still a threat. Rhaenyra knows her brothers are missing, and that the so-called king is currently crippled and vulnerable. She could kill him given the chance, but Jace doesn't trust the situation enough to move forward blindly. Rhaenyra gathers her most loyal men and lays out her plan. Once Aemond rides out to a distant city, Alicent will open the gates of King's Landing from the inside, letting Rhaenyra march straight into the throne room to kill Aegon herself. She insists they need precision, soldiers, ships, and resources lined up before acting. Jace warns his mother not to be naive. She doesn't budge. When Alicent returns to King's Landing, a knight tells her the king has summoned her. She assumes she's heading to Aegon's chambers, but instead, she's directed to the throne room, where she finds Aemond sitting on the Iron Throne. She asks why he's there. He tells her his brother abandoned the crown like a coward and fled with Larys. And now Aemond wants to know exactly where she's been the past several days, since no one could account for her absence, and she left no word. She lies, claiming she went into the woods to pray. Aemond also mentions he needs to meet with Sir Criston Cole. His plan involves using the city, the docks, and his full army to take down the Sea Snake's forces and finally end this war for good. He intends to be patient and wait for the perfect moment to strike. Far away, Daemon finishes off a battle decisively, cutting down everyone near him, while his men do the same. He declares the Lannister forces defeated, their glory gone. For now, burying the dead takes priority, though Daemon notes that Caraxes can handle whatever comes next. Deep in the forest, a new army appears, and both sides brace for a fight. The opposing leader presents the severed head of the Lannister commander, and pledges allegiance to the true queen. The story shifts to King's Landing, where Sir Criston Cole asks whether the king has arrived, and is informed that some of his men assaulted a village woman. Someone suggests hanging the offender on the spot, but Cole says he doesn't have the authority. He's not a commander, just a knight. Still, he insists an example needs to be set, a reminder that these men are knights, not beasts, bound by oath. Elsewhere, the newly recruited Dragonseed riders train together. Ulf opens up. He never felt special growing up, just another unlucky son of a mother who once had a fling with a Targaryen. As a child, he endured abuse from a man of the church who paid him off with coins and sweets to stay quiet. He asks the others for their own backstories. 3 introduce themselves, all waiting for their shot at claiming a dragon. Ulf admits the only reason he's helping Rhaenyra at all is the promise of knighthood. Hugh tells him plainly that a knight only owns a horse, not a castle. A Lord Commander owns the castle. Better not to get his hopes too high. Back with Rhaena. She keeps trying to win Sheepstealer's trust and asks to be taken home to Dragonstone. The dragon simply flies off without her. Alicent sits with her daughter Helena while writing a letter, asking after Helena's missing husband. Helena, perceptive in her own quiet way, senses her mother's fear that war is coming, and many will die on both sides, Aegon's faction included. Alicent ignores it and keeps writing. Once finished, she instructs a servant to deliver the letter urgently to Sir Luther Largent, commander of the City Watch. At sea, Corlys talks with his newly acknowledged son about a particular drink he's grown fond of, one his son doesn't share his taste for. Word arrives from Rhaenyra. They intend to pull back some ships and seize King's Landing while Aemond is away from the city. His son warns him to be careful of the one-eyed prince. Corlys, fully aware now that this young man is his own blood, feels the weight of loving someone he's afraid to lose. Knowing there isn't time left to repair what's broken between them, then the alarm bell rings. The enemy has arrived. 52 ships, belonging to the Triarchy, commanded by Shirako Lohar, who is supremely confident of victory. His own general privately doubts the plan, which calls for striking Driftmark itself to demoralize Corlys before finishing him off when the moment is right. Back with Rhaena, Sheepstealer reappears, regurgitating and burning a kill in front of her, an offering. Starving and desperate to earn the dragon's trust, she eats what's given to her. Alicent's letter reaches Sir Luther. His men camp out, waiting for Aemon's arrival, eating and passing the time. Alicent turns her attention to Aemond, urging him to track down his brother and bring him back to the city, because if he stays and waits for Rhaenyra's attack without commanding Vhagar properly on the battlefield, they'll lose everything. Aegon, she insists, should never have stopped being king. Eventually, she wins the argument, and what follows is an uncomfortable, unsettling moment between mother and son that the show clearly wants viewers to sit with. A beat that's genuinely difficult to watch. Aemond, resolved now, vows he'll kill his uncle Daemon first, mount his head on a spear, and celebrate afterward with a grand feast. The Dragonseed riders, meanwhile, grow uneasy about facing Vhagar in open battle. Alf wants to retreat. Hugh wants to stay and fight. Alf is convinced staying is pointless. A mysterious woman confirms his instinct, urging him to return to Dragonstone immediately. At Dragonstone, Daemon arrives and tells Rhaenyra a sea battle has broken out, and the smartest move is to intervene directly. She decides to ride into the fight herself. Jace, terrified of losing his mother, begs her to reconsider. She tells him plainly that if she dies, he becomes ruler of Dragonstone. Knowing the danger, she also orders that he be kept safe and watched over while she's gone, and asks Baela to ride alongside her, since fighting with dragons was always supposed to be their purpose. When Rhaenyra is finally ready to leave, she orders the gates opened, but the guard refuses, citing Jace's standing order to keep her confined for her own protection. She threatens him, he still won't budge. At sea, the carnage is brutal. Despite being outnumbered, Corlys's forces manage to hold their ground. Despite his general's warning that breaking formation to chase him will leave the fleet disorganized and doomed, Shirako doesn't care. Corlys killed his people once, and tonight ends one of two ways. Either Corlys dies, or Shirako does. Back at Dragonstone, Rhaenyra is furious at being locked away against her will. Eventually, she pulls on her armor, and declares that despite how the world sees her as a weak woman, she carries the heart of a king, and is ready to fight like everyone else. At sea, Alan realizes Shirako's forces have the upper hand, and there's no clean way to win. Just as hope starts slipping away, the dragons arrive. Baela and Moondancer are among them. Corlys figures their best chance is pulling the fight into open water, where the dragons can strike the fleet at its most exposed. But Shirako anticipated exactly this, and has specialized dragon-killing crossbows ready. In the chaos, one of the riders gets distracted, and Shirako drives a harpoon straight into a dragon, which begins to sink toward the water. Triumphant, Shirako embraces his general, declaring himself a dragon slayer. Now, one of the trapped riders searches desperately for a way out, but finds none. And just as everything seems lost, Moondancer swoops in for the rescue. Reaching the nearest shoreline means navigating a treacherous narrow stretch of water full of hidden hazards, and it has to be done slowly and carefully. Shirako pursues, knowing the only safe route through mirrors the path Corlys' own ship has carved for generations. Alan helps his father, but every attempt to push through ends in another collision, forcing them to slow down further. With their navigator struggling, Corlys takes the helm himself, has the oars pulled in to cut speed, and finally guides them through. Outside Dragonstone, Rhaena and Sheepstealer arrive to help her sister in the fight. Shirako's ships, unfamiliar with the turbulent local waters, start sinking one after another. Soldiers scramble as the vessels destabilize. Even his own general is nearly lost in the chaos. Once lightened though, the remaining fleet picks up speed. Word reaches Corlys that the enemy now has the advantage, and is closing in fast. He orders his men to brace for the final clash. Looking toward his own home, Corlys sees that Hightide, his ancestral castle, has been burned down to its foundations. Alan rallies the men to stand ready. The fleets collide head-on. Shirako fights relentlessly, while Rhaena and Sheepstealer rain fire down on the enemy ships from above. But in the chaos and smoke, the dragon can't tell friend from foe, and ends up burning some of Rhaenyra's own allied vessels by accident. Rhaena watches the resulting deaths in horror. Corlys, having been knocked into the water earlier, regains consciousness and sees the full scope of the disaster unfolding. He grabs his sword and fights his way back into it. A burning sail collapses onto Alan, but he survives even in open water and finishes off his attacker. Rhaena pleads with Sheepstealer to stop attacking their own allies, but the dragon won't listen. Both sisters are now deep in the thick of the battle, and Sheepstealer turns and attacks Caraxes directly. Rhaena keeps begging the dragon to stand down. It ignores her completely. The fighting rages on, as Corlys's flagship barely holds together. Shirako presses his attack on Corlys directly, and despite Corlys's decades of experience on the water, the sheer brutality of the assault splits his ship in two, throwing him into the sea. Alan searches frantically for his father, and believing Shirako has just killed him, turns on Shirako with everything he has. Meanwhile, in the chaos, the dragon riders finally discover whose hand has been controlling Sheepstealer all along. But the moment is undercut by catastrophe. In the disorder, Jace's dragon Vermax takes a serious wound. Sheepstealer pulls back from the fight, and Daemon tries to intervene and save the injured dragon. but it's too far gone. Enraged and out of patience, Alan drives a knife into Sharako, and ends him for good, his body disappearing beneath the waves. But the victory comes at a devastating cost. Vermax, badly hurt, searches out his rider. Jace has fallen into the water, and Daemon tries to reach him, but can't get there in time. Harpoons keep raining down around them. Jace begs Vermax to fly, but the dragon is too wounded to lift off. Jace tries to swim for it, and the moment he breaks the surface, a volley of arrows tears through the air. 3 strike his chest. The young Targaryen prince dies right there in the water. The battle finally ends. Alan finds his father alive and pulls him from the wreckage, but the cost is undeniable. They've lost a dragon rider in the process.